The late afternoon sun streamed through the windows of Pine Grove Elementary as Lily Chen gathered her things to head home. The school hallways had emptied an hour ago, but as usual she found herself staying late, finishing up paperwork that never seemed to end. As the assistant principal, her days were filled with student discipline reports, teacher evaluations, and endless spreadsheets. "Still here, Lily?" The janitor, Mr. Wong, poked his head into her office with a friendly smile. "You work too hard." "Just wrapping up," she replied, returning his smile while stacking the last of her folders. "Have a good evening." Once in her car, Lily let out a deep sigh and rolled her shoulders, trying to release the tension that had built up over the day. The drive home was quick, just 15 minutes through the small town where she'd lived all her life except for her college years. As she pulled into the driveway of her modest one-bedroom house, her phone buzzed with a text. It was from Tara, a fellow teacher and one of the few people Lily considered a close friend. "Hey, don't forget about the charity thing Saturday. Still hoping you'll say yes to helping us out," Lily groaned. The charity fundraiser. She'd been dodging Tara's request for weeks now. The school board was hosting a fancy dinner to raise money for the new library. And somehow Tara had volunteered her to provide a little background music during the cocktail hour. Inside her house, Lily kicked off her sensible work shoes and headed straight to the kitchen to reheat last night's pasta. As she waited for the microwave, her eyes drifted to the corner of her living room where her upright piano sat, partially covered with a decorative scarf and framed photos. A thin layer of dust had settled on the closed lid. She hadn't really played, in nearly 8 years. Once, the piano had been her everything. From age 6, when her parents had scraped together enough money for lessons, through high school when she practiced 4 hours a day, music had been her identity, her future. Everyone who heard her play said she had a gift. The microwave beeped, but Lily remained frozen, staring at the piano. She remembered the day the rejection letter came from Eastman School of Music. She'd applied to only one top conservatory, putting all her hopes into that single application. When the thin envelope arrived instead of the thick welcome packet, something inside her had crumbled. She'd still gone to college, the state university with a partial academic scholarship, and studied education instead. She'd packed away her sheet music, stopped playing except for occasional Christmas carols, and built a new life that had nothing to do with music. Her phone buzzed again. "Come on, Lily. It's just background music while people sip wine and pretend they like each other. No one will even be listening. Please, we're desperate." Lily sighed and typed back, "What time do I need to be there?" The response was immediate. "Thank you. 6 p.m. Wear something fancy. You're the best." Sitting on her couch with her reheated pasta, Lily wondered if she'd made a mistake. She hadn't practiced in years. What would she even play? Did she remember anything suitable for background music at a fancy event? After dinner, she found herself drawn to the piano. She lifted the dusty scarf, opened the lid, and gently pressed a key. The note rang out, slightly flat from neglect. Lily winced. She'd need to have it tuned if she was going to play in public. She called a tuner the next morning during her lunch break, and he was able to come that evening. The older man worked quietly, occasionally making small talk. "Haven't played in a while?" he asked, noticing the dust. "Years," Lily admitted. "Shame," he said simply. "This is a good instrument." It had been her grandmother's, the only real valuable thing the old woman had owned. When she died during Lily's sophomore year of college, the piano had come to her. Sometimes Lily thought it was a cruel joke of fate, getting her grandmother's prized possession just months after giving up on her own musical dreams. After the tuner left, Lily sat on the bench and placed her hands on the keys. The familiar position felt strange now, her fingers stiff and uncertain. She began with simple scales, surprised at how quickly her muscles remembered the patterns even as they protested the unfamiliar movement. The next few evenings after work, Lily spent an hour at the piano, working through easy pieces she once could have played in her sleep. Chopin's Prelude in E minor, Bach's Minuet in G, a simplified arrangement of Debussy's Clair de Lune. Her playing was rusty, with wrong notes and hesitations, but by Friday night, she felt she could manage a passable performance of some simple pieces, enough for background music at least. Saturday arrived too quickly. Lily spent the morning nervously trying on different outfits, finally settling on a simple black dress she'd worn to a cousin's wedding last year. It was the only formal thing she owned. She twisted her long black hair into a neat bun and applied light makeup, also a rarity for her. As she drove to the lakeside hotel where the fundraiser was being held, her stomach churned with nerves. It's just background music, she reminded herself aloud. No one will even be listening. The hotel was the fanciest place in their small town, with a grand entrance and chandeliers in the lobby. Tara was waiting for her, looking uncharacteristically elegant in a deep blue gown. You came. Tara hugged her tightly. And you look gorgeous. I hardly recognized you without your teacher clothes. Where's the piano? Lily asked, trying to ignore the butterflies in her stomach. This way. Tara led her through the lobby toward the ballroom. They've set up a small grand piano in the corner of the reception area. People will mingle there before dinner. Lily stopped in her tracks when she saw it. Not a small grand piano, a full-sized Steinway concert grand, gleaming black and imposing. Tara, she hissed, you didn't say it was a Steinway. Tara looked confused. Is that important? Piano's a piano, right? Lily almost laughed. A Steinway was to pianos what a Ferrari was to cars. This was an instrument meant for real musicians, not someone who had barely touched a keyboard in 8 years. Mr. Delaney donated it to the hotel last year, Tara explained, referring to the town's wealthiest resident. He's on the school board too, he'll be here tonight. Great, Lily thought. No pressure at all. A young man in a hotel uniform approached them. Are you the pianist? He asked Lily. She nodded, her mouth suddenly dry. Perfect. You can start whenever you're ready. Guests will begin arriving in about 20 minutes. He gestured to the piano. Feel free to warm up. Left alone with the magnificent instrument, Lily cautiously sat on the bench. It adjusted smoothly beneath her, much nicer than her stiff wooden bench at home. She ran her fingers lightly over the keys without pressing them, admiring their perfect ivory smoothness. Taking a deep breath, she played a simple C major chord. The sound that emerged was rich and resonant, filling the space with warmth. It was like driving a luxury car after years of using a bicycle, effortless and responsive in a way her old upright could never be. Lily began to play softly, testing the instrument with one of the simple pieces she had practiced. The piano seemed to make her sound better than she was, forgiving her rusty technique and amplifying the expression she put into the music. As she played, her initial terror began to fade. There was something comforting about being at a piano again, even in these strange circumstances. She moved from one piece to another, keeping the volume gentle and the selections unobtrusive, perfect background music for people who weren't really listening. The first guests began to arrive, dressed in formal attire and clustering in small groups with glasses of wine. As promised, no one paid much attention to her playing, though a few people smiled in her direction or nodded appreciatively as they passed by. An hour into the event, the reception area was crowded with people. School board members, teachers, local business owners, and parents mingled and chatted, their voices creating a steady hum that Lily had to play over. She was beginning to tire, having not built up the stamina for extended playing. During a brief pause between pieces, she flexed her fingers and rolled her shoulders. That's when she noticed him, a tall man in an impeccably tailored suit standing slightly apart from the crowd, actually watching her. When their eyes met, he smiled and walked toward the piano. Don't stop on my account, he said. I was enjoying your playing. Lily felt her cheeks warm. Just taking a short break, she replied. My fingers aren't used to this anymore. The man raised an eyebrow. You play beautifully for someone who's out of practice. Thank you, she said, unsure how to respond to the unexpected compliment. I'm David, he said, extending his hand. I'm coordinating the event tonight. Lily shook his hand. Lily Chen, I'm just helping out as a favor to a friend. Well, your favor is adding a touch of class to our evening, David said. Then glancing at his watch, he added, we should start moving people into the dining room soon. Would you mind playing for another 15 minutes or so? Of course, Lily nodded, relieved that her duty was almost over. As David walked away to speak with the hotel staff, Lily returned to the piano. For some reason, knowing that at least one person had actually been listening made her more conscious of her playing. She chose Beethoven's Für Elise, one of the pieces she'd always found easiest to play expressively. As the familiar melody flowed from her fingers, She found herself getting lost in the music for the first time that evening. For a moment, she wasn't Lily Chen, assistant principal playing background music at a charity event. She was just a musician, connecting with a beautiful instrument and the timeless notes of a master composer. When she finished, she was startled by the sound of applause. Looking up, she realized a small group had gathered around the piano, including David and Tara, who was beaming proudly. "Ladies and gentlemen," David announced to the crowd, "dinner will be served in the main ballroom. Please make your way through the double doors." As the guests began to move toward the dining room, David approached Lily again. "That was lovely," he said. "We had a small situation arise. Our planned entertainment for after dinner had to cancel at the last minute. Food poisoning or something." "I don't suppose—" Lily's eyes widened as she realized what he was asking. Lily stared at David, her mouth slightly open as his words sank in. He wanted her to perform? As the actual entertainment? "I couldn't possibly," she stammered. "I'm not prepared for that kind of performance. I just came to play background music." David's friendly smile didn't waver. "Look, we're in a tight spot. The singer we booked called an hour ago with food poisoning. There's supposed to be a 15-minute musical interlude while people finish their dessert." He glanced toward the dining room where guests were taking their seats. Nothing fancy, just a few pieces to fill the time. Tara appeared at Lily's side, eyes wide with excitement. "You should do it." "Come on, Lily. When's the last time you performed on a Steinway?" "Never," Lily admitted quietly. And that was part of the problem. Playing softly in the background while people chatted was one thing. Having everyone's attention focused on her was entirely different. The thought made her palms sweat. "I don't even have proper music with me," she protested. "There's a folder of sheet music in the bench," David said, left by previous performers. "Maybe you'll find something you know." Before Lily could object further, Tara pulled her toward a quiet corner. "Listen to me," her friend said firmly. "I've known you for 5 years, and in all that time I've never once heard you play. Not really play, but I've heard the stories from people who knew you before. They say you were incredible." Lily shook her head. "That was a long time ago. So what? It's like riding a bike, isn't it?" Tara squeezed her arm. "This is a room full of people who support our school. The worst that happens is you play a few wrong notes and nobody cares. The best that happens is, well, who knows?" Lily looked over at the dining room doors, anxiety churning in her stomach. "What if I mess up badly? Then we'll all get drunk on the free wine and forget about it," Tara said with a laugh. "Come on, be brave for once. What happened to the girl who applied to Eastman?" "She got rejected," Lily said flatly. "And then she gave up," Tara replied, her voice gentle but pointed. "Maybe it's time to stop giving up." Lily felt a flicker of something she hadn't felt in years, a stubborn spark that used to drive her to practice until her fingers ached. She sighed. "Fine. I'll look through the music and see if there's anything I know well enough." David, who'd been waiting patiently nearby, beamed when Lily gave him a reluctant nod. "Wonderful. You'll go on in about 45 minutes. That gives you time to look through the music and get comfortable." As he hurried off to oversee dinner service, Lily returned to the piano and opened the bench. Inside was a thick folder stuffed with sheet music, everything from classical pieces to show tunes and pop song arrangements. She flipped through the pages, recognizing many pieces she'd played in her youth. Bach, Mozart, Chopin, Debussy. Some were too difficult for her current skill level after years of not playing seriously. Others were too simple, the kind of pieces given to intermediate students. Then a familiar cover caught her eye. Rachmaninoff's Prelude in G minor, Opera 23, No. 5. Her fingers tingled at the sight of it. This piece had been her showstopper during her senior year of high school. She had performed it at her final recital before graduation, receiving a standing ovation. It was powerful, dramatic, and technically challenging. Everything she'd loved about piano. Performance. It was also far more difficult than anything she'd played in years. Lily carefully removed the music from the folder and placed it on the piano. Just looking at the complex notation brought back memories of countless hours spent mastering the difficult passages, the triumphant feeling when she finally performed it perfectly. She glanced around. The reception area had emptied now that everyone was at dinner. She had privacy to try the piece without an audience. Taking a deep breath, she began to play the opening chords, strong, marcato notes that immediately commanded attention. Her fingers stumbled almost immediately. not used to the quick movements required. She stopped, shook out her hands, and tried again. The second attempt was better, though still rough. By the third try, muscle memory was beginning to return, her fingers finding their way through the familiar patterns despite years of neglect. For the next half hour, Lily worked through the piece section by section, surprised at how much her body remembered what her conscious mind had forgotten. It wasn't perfect, far from it, but it was coming back faster than she'd expected. As she practiced, she lost track of time, focused entirely on the music. The technical challenges that had once intimidated her now felt like welcome puzzles to solve. How long had it been since she'd felt this kind of engaged concentration? In her day-to-day life as an assistant principal, everything was interruptions and putting out fires. Never this pure, absorbed focus. "Excuse me, Ms. Chen?" Lily jumped, startled by the voice. A young server stood nearby, looking apologetic for interrupting. "Mr. Rivera asked me to let you know they're serving dessert now. You'll be on in about 10 minutes. "Thank you," Lily said, her heart suddenly racing again as reality crashed back in. 10 minutes until she performed. In front of people who were actually listening. She quickly ran through the most difficult passages one more time, then closed her eyes and took several deep breaths. She could do this. It didn't have to be perfect. When David appeared to escort her to the ballroom, Lily gathered the sheet music and followed him on legs that felt oddly disconnected from her body. The ballroom was elegant, with round tables covered in white cloths and centered with floral arrangements. At the front of the room was a small stage where the Steinway had been moved during dinner. Soft lighting illuminated the piano while the rest of the room was dimly lit, creating an intimate atmosphere. Nearly 200 people sat at the tables, finishing their desserts and sipping coffee or wine. Lily spotted Tara at a table near the front, giving her an enthusiastic thumbs up. "Ladies and gentlemen," David announced as they reached the stage, "we have a special treat for you this evening." While our scheduled performer was unfortunately unable to join us, we are delighted to present one of Pine Grove Elementary's own talented staff members, Ms. Lily Chen. There was polite applause as Lily climbed the steps to the stage and settled onto the piano bench. Under the warm spotlight, she arranged her music and adjusted the bench, playing for time as she tried to calm her racing heart. Looking out at the sea of faces, she spotted the school superintendent, several wealthy donors, and various community leaders. Mr. Delaney, the Steinway's donor, sat at a front table, watching with interest. Lily placed her hands on the keys and hesitated, suddenly doubting her ambitious choice of music. Should she have picked something simpler? What if she made a complete fool of herself? She glanced up and caught Tara's encouraging smile. Next to her friend sat Mrs. Garcia, the elderly music teacher who had been at Pine Grove since before Lily was born. The old woman's eyes were bright with curiosity. Enough stalling. Lily took a deep breath, lifted her hands, and began to play. The powerful opening chords resonated through the room, immediately silencing the quiet dinner conversation. Lily focused intently on the music, pushing away thoughts of the audience. Her fingers moved across the keys with growing confidence as the familiar patterns re-emerged from her muscle memory. The piece built in intensity, alternating between marcato passages that showcased the piano's resonant bass and delicate runs that sparkled in the upper register. Despite a few small slips, Lily maintained the forward momentum of the music, losing herself in its dramatic narrative. As she reached the middle section, a gentler, more contemplative part of the piece, Lily dared to look up. The audience sat in rapt attention, desserts forgotten. Mrs. Garcia was leaning forward in her chair, eyes wide with surprise. Mr. Delaney had set down his wineglass and was watching her with undisguised interest. The realization that people were actually listening, really listening, sent a rush of adrenaline through Lily. Instead of increasing her nervousness, it energized her playing. She leaned into the music, bringing out nuances in the melody that she hadn't planned, letting her emotions flow through her fingers into the keys. When she returned to the main theme, her playing had a new confidence and authority. The technical difficulties that had worried her during practice now felt like opportunities to express the passion of the music. Her hands moved surely across the keyboard, muscle memory fully awakened now, as if the intervening years had fallen away. The final section of the piece was a test of endurance and technique, with rapid octaves and powerful chords building to a thunderous conclusion. Lily attacked it with everything she had, her body swaying slightly with the intensity of the music. As she struck the final chords, letting them ring out into the silence of the room, Lily felt something she hadn't experienced in years, the pure satisfaction of having given everything to a performance, of connecting with an audience through music. For a moment after the last notes faded, there was complete silence. Then someone gasped audibly. A chair scraped as someone stood up. And suddenly the room erupted in applause, not the polite, obligatory kind, but enthusiastic, genuine appreciation. Lily blinked in surprise as people rose to their feet, applauding with increasing enthusiasm. Mrs. Garcia was dabbing at her eyes with a napkin. Tara was jumping up and down, clapping wildly. Even Mr. Delaney had stood, a look of approval on his usually stern face. David bounded onto the stage, beaming. "Ladies and gentlemen, Lily Chen," he announced unnecessarily, gesturing toward her as the applause continued. Lily stood on shaky legs and gave an awkward bow, overwhelmed by the response. She had expected polite applause at best, perhaps a few compliments from people being kind. This was something else entirely. As the applause finally began to die down, David leaned closer to her. "That was incredible," he said, his voice filled with genuine amazement. "You never mentioned you could play like that." "I didn't know I still could," Lily admitted, her voice barely audible over the lingering applause. As she made her way off the stage, still dazed by what had just happened, Lily noticed an elegantly dressed older woman watching her intently from near the ballroom entrance. There was something familiar about her, but Lily couldn't place her. The woman nodded slightly, as if confirming something to herself, then disappeared through the doorway as the crowd surged forward to congratulate the unexpected star of the evening. Lily barely slept that night. Every time she closed her eyes, she relived the performance, the feeling of the keys beneath her fingers, the rapt attention of the audience, the thunderous applause. Her body hummed with leftover adrenaline and a strange, unfamiliar feeling that took her a while to identify: pride. When her alarm went off Sunday morning, she reached for her phone to find it flooded with notifications, text messages from colleagues who'd been at the event, friend requests on social media from people she barely knew, and most surprisingly, an email from Mr. Delaney himself. "Ms. Chen," it read, "your performance last night was extraordinary. I would like to discuss an opportunity with you. Please call my office Monday morning." Lily read the message 3 times, trying to make sense of it. Mr. Delaney wasn't just wealthy. He was a major patron of the arts in their small city. His foundation funded everything from the summer concert series to scholarships for promising young musicians. What could he possibly want with her? Before she could ponder it further, her phone rang. It was Tara. "Have you seen it?" her friend demanded without preamble. "Seen what?" Lily asked, stifling a yawn. "The video!" Tom Chen from the school board posted it on the community Facebook page. "It already has over 2,000 views." Lily sat up straight. "What video?" "Of you playing." "Hold on, I'll send you the link." Moments later, Lily was watching herself on the small screen of her phone. Someone had recorded her entire performance from a seat near the front of the room. The quality wasn't professional, but it clearly captured both her playing and the audience's reaction. Watching herself perform was a surreal experience. She looked different than she imagined, more confident than she'd felt, her face expressive as she moved with the music. And the sound. Even through the phone's tiny speaker, the power of the piece came through. The comments below the video were overwhelmingly positive. Who knew our assistant principal was hiding this talent? Absolutely beautiful playing. My daughter is in 3rd grade at Pine Grove. Can Ms. Chen please start teaching piano there? Lily set the phone down, her head spinning. In the harsh light of morning, last night felt like a dream, but the evidence was right there. She had played. People had listened. They had liked it. "Lily, are you still there?" Tara's voice came from the forgotten phone. "Yes, sorry." Lily picked it up again. "This is unexpected." "Unexpected?" "It's amazing. Oh, and Mrs. Garcia called me this morning. She wants your number. She's apparently been raving about you to everyone who'll listen." After finishing the call with Tara, Lily wandered to her piano. She sat on the bench and gently touched the keys, not pressing hard enough to make sound. After years of gathering dust, the instrument suddenly felt like an old friend who'd been patiently waiting for her return. She began to play, hesitantly at first, then with growing confidence. Not Rachmaninoff this time, but Chopin, a nocturne she'd once loved for its melancholy beauty. Her technique was still rusty, but something had shifted. The music flowed more naturally than it had in years. The rest of Sunday passed in a blur of phone calls, messages, and, surprisingly, several hours of playing. By evening, Lily's fingers were sore in a way they hadn't been since college, but her mind felt clearer than it had in years. Monday morning brought a return to normal life, or what should have been normal life. But as Lily walked through the halls of Pine Grove Elementary, she noticed people looking at her differently. Teachers she barely knew stopped to compliment her playing. A group of fifth graders asked if she could perform at their graduation. During her lunch break, she remembered Mr. Delaney's email and called his office with shaky hands. Ms. Chen," his assistant said warmly. "Mr. Delaney was hoping you'd call. He'd like to meet with you this afternoon if possible. Say 4 o'clock at his office downtown." Lily rearranged her schedule and agreed to the meeting, curiosity overcoming her nervousness. The Delaney Foundation occupied the top floor of the tallest building in town, a modest 6 stories but impressive for their small city. Lily felt out of place in her work clothes as she rode the elevator up, wishing she'd had time to change into something more professional. Mr. Delaney's assistant, an elegant older woman with silver hair, greeted her warmly and led her into a spacious office with floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city park. "Ms. Chen," Mr. Delaney rose from behind a large desk. He was tall and lean, with sharp eyes that missed nothing. "Thank you for coming on such short notice." "Thank you for inviting me," Lily replied, trying to keep her voice steady as she shook his hand. "Please have a seat." He gestured to a comfortable chair. "Would you like some tea, coffee?" "Tea would be nice, thank you." As his assistant went to prepare the tea, Mr. Delaney settled back in his chair and studied Lily. "I must admit, Miss Chen, you surprised me Saturday night. I've attended countless musical performances in this city, and rarely have I been so moved." Lily felt her cheeks warm. "That's very kind of you to say." "It's not kindness, it's honesty," he replied bluntly. "Your performance of Rachmaninoff was technically impressive, yes, but more importantly, it had soul. That's something that can't be taught." He leaned forward. "Which makes me wonder why someone with your talent is working as an assistant principal rather than pursuing music." The direct question caught Lily off guard. She hesitated, unsure how much to share with this virtual stranger. "I applied to Eastman School of Music after high school. When I didn't get in, I chose a different path." Mr. Delaney nodded thoughtfully. "One rejection and you gave up on music entirely?" Put so bluntly it sounded ridiculous. Lily shifted uncomfortably. "It seemed like a sign that I wasn't good enough." "Nonsense," Mr. Delaney said firmly. "Conservatories reject talented musicians all the time for reasons that have nothing to do with ability. Perhaps they had too many pianists that year. Perhaps the professor who would have championed you was on sabbatical." He shrugged. "But that's in the past. I'm more interested in your future." The assistant returned with a tray of tea. As she poured, Lily noticed something familiar about her. With a jolt, she realized this was the woman she'd seen watching her at the end of her performance. "Ms. Chen, do you know who I am beyond being on the school board?" Mr. Delaney asked, adding a spoon of sugar to his tea. "You're a businessman," Lily said carefully, "and a patron of the arts through your foundation." "Before I was either of those things, I was a concert pianist," he said, surprising her. "Not at the international level, but I performed professionally for 15 years before an injury ended that career." He flexed his right hand, and Lily noticed a slight stiffness to the movement. "The foundation was my way of staying connected to the world I loved." Lily hadn't known this about him. It explained his donation of the Steinway to the hotel, his keen interest in her playing. "The reason I asked you here," he continued, "is that the foundation sponsors a summer concert series in the park. Our planned pianist for the opening concert next month had to withdraw. She's been offered a tour in Europe." A small smile played at his lips. "After seeing your performance, I wonder if you might consider taking her place." Lily nearly choked on her tea. "Me? Perform at the summer concert?" Yes, the program was to include several romantic pieces, including Rachmaninoff. "Given what I saw Saturday night, I believe you could handle it beautifully with proper preparation." He slid a folder across the desk to her. "This is the proposed program. You would, of course, be compensated for your time." Lily opened the folder with trembling hands. The program included the Rachmaninoff prelude she'd played, along with works by Chopin and Liszt. It was ambitious, the kind of program she might have dreamed of playing in another life. "I don't know what to say," she admitted. "I haven't performed seriously in years. Saturday night was an exception." "Perhaps it was the rule reasserting itself," Mr. Delaney suggested quietly. "Miss Chen, talent like yours is rare. Whether you choose to develop it further is entirely your decision, but I would be remiss if I didn't at least offer you the opportunity." His assistant, who had been silent until now, spoke up. "If I may, Mr. Delaney?" At his nod, she turned to Lily. "Ms. Chen, I was at the fundraiser Saturday night. I saw many people recording your performance on their phones, but do you know what I didn't see? I didn't see a single person looking at their phone while you were playing." She smiled gently. "In this day and age, that's quite remarkable." Lily didn't know how to respond. The idea of performing in front of hundreds of people in the park was terrifying. But hadn't Saturday night been terrifying too? And yet once she started playing— "If you're concerned about preparation," Mr. Delaney added, "we could arrange for you to work with a coach. Dr. Rivera at the community college has an excellent reputation." "Can I have some time to think about it?" Lily asked. "Of course. The concert is 4 weeks away, so I would need your decision by the end of the week." He handed her a business card. "My direct line is on the back. Call me when you decide." As Lily left the building, her mind was racing. She walked slowly through the park, barely noticing the spring flowers or the children playing on the grass. At the center of the park stood the bandshell where the summer concerts were held. She paused, looking at the empty stage, trying to imagine herself there. Could she do it? Did she want to? That night, after grading papers and preparing for the next day's meetings, Lily sat at her piano again. She played through some of the pieces in the concert program, assessing her abilities honestly. Her technique needed work. Her stamina wasn't what it once was. But the core of her musicianship remained intact, perhaps even deepened by life experience. As she played a particularly challenging passage from the Liszt piece, her phone rang. It was Mrs. Garcia, the music teacher. "Lily, dear, I hope I'm not calling too late," the older woman said. "I've been trying to reach you since the fundraiser." "It's not too late," Lily assured her. "I've been meaning to call you back. I wanted to tell you how proud I was watching you play," Mrs. Garcia said, her voice warm. "It reminded me of why I became a music teacher in the first place, to nurture talents like yours." Lily felt a lump form in her throat. "Thank you. That means a lot coming from you. I hear Douglas Delaney has offered you a spot in the summer concert series," Mrs. Garcia continued. Surprising Lily. News traveled fast in their small town. "Word gets around." "I see." "In a good way," Mrs. Garcia chuckled. "The whole school is buzzing about our musical assistant principal. The children think you're a celebrity now." Lily couldn't help laughing at that. "Hardly. But yes, Mr. Delaney did offer me a spot. I'm considering it." "What's holding you back?" Mrs. Garcia asked gently. Lily sighed. "Fear, I suppose. It's been so long since I performed seriously. What if I can't do it? What if I fail? What if you fly?" Mrs. Garcia countered. "Lily, I've been teaching music for 40 years. I know talent when I hear it. More importantly, I know passion when I see it. When you played that Rachmaninoff, you weren't just playing notes, you were speaking through the music." Lily was silent, absorbing the words. "You know," Mrs. Garcia continued thoughtfully, "we spend so much time teaching children to follow their dreams. Maybe it's time one of us adults set the example." After they hung up, Lily returned to the piano, playing softly as she thought about Mrs. Garcia's words. The woman had a point. How often had Lily encouraged her students to be brave, to try new things, to pursue their passions? Was she willing to take her own advice? She picked up Mr. Delaney's card and looked at the number on the back. It wasn't too late to call. Taking a deep breath, she reached for her phone. The next 4 weeks passed in a whirlwind for Lily. After accepting Mr. Delaney's offer, she found herself living a double life. Assistant principal by day, pianist by night and weekend. Every spare moment was devoted to practice, her fingers growing stronger and more nimble with each passing day. As Mr. Delaney had promised, he arranged for her to work with Dr. Rivera, the piano professor from the community college. Their first meeting had been intimidating. Lily felt like a student again, awkward and unsure. "Your technique is rusty," Dr. Rivera had said bluntly after listening to her play through the concert program. He was a compact man with salt and pepper hair and piercing eyes that missed nothing. But your musicality is impressive. We have work to do, but there's a solid foundation. 3 times a week. Lily drove to the college after work for 2-hour sessions with Dr. Rivera. He was demanding but fair, pushing her beyond what she thought were her limits while offering precise guidance on how to overcome technical challenges. The list needs more fire, he told her during their 3rd session, demonstrating the passionate intensity the piece required. Don't be afraid to throw yourself into it. Music isn't just about playing the right notes, it's about communicating emotion. At home, Lily practiced until her neighbors knocked on the wall, then switched to a digital keyboard with headphones. She fell asleep with melodies running through her head and woke up with her fingers twitching, playing imaginary passages on her blanket. The transformation wasn't just in her playing. Colleagues at school noticed a new energy about her, a spark that hadn't been there before. Students who had seen the video of her performance looked at her with new respect, especially the ones who took music lessons. "My mom showed me your video," one 4th-grade boy told her shyly, after she broke up a dispute on the playground. "She says you play better than my piano teacher." 2 weeks before the concert, Tara insisted on taking Lily shopping for an outfit to wear for her performance. "You can't go on stage in one of your work outfit," her friend said firmly, as they browsed through dresses in the city's best boutique. "This is your debut. You need something that makes a statement." "It's hardly a debut," Lily protested. "More like a strange detour in my life." Tara stopped and looked at her seriously. "Is that really how you see it? A detour?" Lily hesitated, surprised by the question. "I don't know anymore. A month ago, I was just an assistant principal who used to play piano. Now I'm—" She trailed off, uncertain how to finish the sentence. "Now you're Lily Chen, pianist," Tara supplied with a grin, "and assistant principal. Who says you can't be both?" The idea of being both hadn't occurred to Lily. She'd been thinking of her music as something separate from her real life, a temporary diversion. But what if it wasn't? "Try this one," Tara said, holding up a deep burgundy dress with a classic silhouette. "It's elegant but not stuffy, and the color will look amazing on you." When Lily emerged from the dressing room, even the saleswoman stopped to admire the effect. The dress fit perfectly, flowing gracefully when she moved, the rich color warming her complexion. "This is the one," Tara declared. "You look like a real pianist." "What does a real pianist look like?" Lily asked, examining her reflection with mixed feelings. The woman in the mirror looked more confident, more polished than she felt. "Like someone who belongs on that stage," Tara said simply. The week before the concert, Dr. Rivera insisted they practice in the park bandshell to get Lily accustomed to the space and the piano she would be using. "It's different playing outdoors," he explained as they walked to the park early on a Saturday morning. "The acoustics change. You need to adjust your touch, your pedaling." The bandshell was empty at that hour, the park mostly deserted except for a few joggers and dog walkers. The piano, another Steinway though not quite as fine as the hotel's, waited on the stage, covered with a protective cloth. As Dr. Rivera uncovered the instrument, Lily looked out at the empty benches arranged in a semicircle before the stage. In 2 weeks, those benches would be filled with people, hundreds of people, according to Mr. Delaney. "Nervous?" Dr. Rivera asked, noticing her expression. "Terrified," Lily admitted. "Good," he nodded approvingly. "A little fear sharpens the senses. Too much paralyzes. The trick is finding the balance." He gestured to the piano bench. "Shall we?" That first practice on the bandshell stage was challenging. The outdoor acoustics were indeed different, the sound dissipating quickly into the open air instead of resonating in an enclosed room. The piano's action was heavier than Lily was used to, requiring more force to produce the same volume. But after an hour, she began to adapt, finding the right touch, the right pedaling. By the end of the 2-hour session, she felt more confident. "Better," Dr. Rivera said, his highest form of praise. "We'll come back twice more this week. By concert day, this piano will feel like an old friend." As Lily gathered her music, she noticed a small group of people had gathered at a distance, listening to her practice. An older couple smiled and waved when they caught her eye. "You have fans already," Dr. Rivera observed dryly. The final week before the concert was the hardest. Doubt crept in during Lily's practice sessions, whispering that she wasn't ready, that she was fooling herself. She missed notes she had played perfectly before, forgot passages she had memorized. "This is normal," Dr. Rivera assured her when she expressed her frustration. "Every performer goes through this before a concert. Your mind is playing tricks on you." "What if I freeze on stage?" Lily asked, voicing her deepest fear. "What if I forget everything?" "Then you'll improvise," he said calmly. "But you won't forget. The music is in you now, not just in your fingers, but in your heart. Trust that." The night before the concert, Lily couldn't sleep. She paced her small living room, running through the program in her head, imagining her fingers on the keys. Around midnight, she gave up and sat at her piano. Not to practice, Dr. Rivera had insisted she rest her hands, but simply to feel the familiar comfort of the instrument. She thought about how strange the past month had been, how a simple favor for a friend had somehow led her to the edge of a new beginning. Was this what people meant by fate? Or was it simply a matter of finally saying yes to something she had denied herself for too long? As dawn broke, Lily finally fell into a restless sleep, only to be awakened a few hours later by a text from Tara. "Today's the big day. You're going to be amazing." The message was followed by a dozen supportive emojis that made Lily smile despite her exhaustion. She dragged herself to the shower, hoping the hot water would revive her. By early afternoon, her nerves were stretched so tight she felt she might snap. The concert was scheduled for 7 p.m., but she needed to be at the park by 5 for a final sound check. She tried to eat a light meal but could barely swallow past the knot in her throat. As she was getting dressed, her phone rang. It was Mr. Delaney. "Ms. Chen," his voice was calm and reassuring. "I thought I'd check in before the performance." "How are you feeling?" "Nervous," she admitted. "I didn't sleep much." "That's to be expected," he said. "I wanted to tell you something that might help. When I was performing, I developed a ritual before each concert. I would remind myself that the audience wasn't there to judge me. They were there to experience something beautiful. My job wasn't to be perfect. It was to be a conduit for the music." Lily considered this. "A conduit for the music," she repeated softly. "Exactly. The composer has already created the masterpiece. You're simply bringing it to life." There was a pause. "The weather is perfect tonight. We're expecting a full house." After they hung up, Lily stared at her reflection in the mirror. The burgundy dress was indeed perfect, elegant without being fussy. She had pulled her hair back into a simple chignon, applied minimal makeup. She looked professional, like someone who belonged on that stage. "A conduit for the music," she whispered to her reflection, feeling a subtle shift in her perspective. This wasn't about her. It was about Rachmaninoff, Chopin, Liszt. About bringing their creations to life for people who had come to listen, to feel, to experience. When Tara arrived to drive her to the park, Lily was calmer than she had been in days. "You look gorgeous," her friend gushed. "And surprisingly zen. I expected you to be a nervous wreck." "I was," Lily admitted. "But I've been thinking about why I'm doing this. It's not about me showing off or proving something. It's about the music," Tara smiled. "Look at you, all philosophical. Next, you'll be growing your hair long and wearing flowing scarves like a true artist." Lily laughed, grateful for the moment of levity. "Let's not get carried away." The park was already filling with people when they arrived. The summer concert series was a popular tradition, drawing crowds from throughout the region. Blankets and lawn chairs spread out beyond the benches, families setting up picnics, children running and playing in the grass. Backstage, a small area behind the bandshell shielded by a screen, Dr. Rivera was waiting. He looked unusually formal in a dark suit. "Right on time." He nodded approvingly. "How do you feel?" "Ready," Lily said, surprising herself with how true it felt. The sound check went smoothly. The piano had been tuned that morning and responded beautifully to her touch. The sound system was adjusted so that even those sitting far back on the lawn could hear clearly. As 7 p.m. approached, Lily peered through a gap in the screen at the audience. The benches were completely full now, and people continued to arrive, spreading blankets on any available patch of grass. She spotted familiar faces, colleagues from school, parents of students, even the superintendent and several school board members. Mr. Delaney appeared backstage, elegant in a light summer suit. "It's time," he said with a reassuring smile. "Are you ready?" Lily took a deep breath and nodded. As Mr. Delaney walked onto the stage to introduce her, she closed her eyes for a moment, centering herself. "Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Delaney's voice carried clearly through the sound system. Welcome to the opening concert of our summer series. Tonight we have a special treat, a talented pianist from our own community making her debut with us. Please join me in welcoming Ms. Lily Chen. The applause washed over Lily as she walked onto the stage. She approached the piano with measured steps, acknowledging the audience with a slight bow before taking her seat at the bench. The park fell silent as she adjusted her position, placed her hands on the keys, and took one final breath. Then she began to play. The first piece was Chopin's Ballade No. 1 in G minor. As her fingers moved across the keys, drawing out the hauntingly beautiful melody, Lily felt the nervousness fall away. The audience, the park, even her own thoughts receded, leaving only the music, powerful, emotional, transcendent. She moved through the program with growing confidence, losing herself in each piece while remaining precisely aware of every nuance, every dynamic shift. The Liszt Hungarian Rhapsody No. 2 drew gasps from the audience with its technical fireworks, while the Debussy Clair de Lune brought a hushed reverence. Finally, it was time for the Rachmaninoff, the piece that had started her on this unexpected journey. As she played the powerful opening chords, Lily thought about how far she had come in just 1 month. From a dusty piano in her living room to this stage, from background music to center stage, the piece built to its thunderous climax, her hands flying across the keyboard with a surety she wouldn't have believed possible weeks ago. As she struck the final chords, letting them ring out into the summer evening, she felt a profound sense of completion, as if a circle had been closed, a wrong had been righted. The silence that followed lasted only a heartbeat before the audience erupted in applause. People rose to their feet, cheering and whistling. Someone shouted, "Bravo!" from the back of the crowd. Lily stood and bowed, her heart pounding with exhilaration rather than fear. The applause continued, showing no signs of stopping. After a third bow, she returned to the piano and played an encore, a tender, heartfelt rendition of Schumann's Träumerei that left many in the audience wiping away tears. When she finally left the stage, Dr. Rivera was waiting, his usual reserve broken by a wide smile. "Magnificent," he said simply, squeezing her shoulder. Mr. Delaney followed close behind. "Ms. Chen, that was everything I hoped it would be and more. I believe we've discovered a true talent tonight." Before Lily could respond, Tara burst backstage and threw her arms around her. "That was incredible. People are going crazy out there. You're a star." As Lily tried to process what had just happened, Mr. Delaney cleared his throat. "Ms. Chen, when you have a moment, there's someone I'd like you to meet. The dean of the music department at State University is here tonight. He's very interested in discussing some possibilities with you." Lily looked at him in surprise. "Possibilities?" "Teaching, perhaps. Performing with their faculty ensemble." He was quite impressed. Mr. Delaney smiled. "It seems your musical journey may just be beginning." As she followed Mr. Delaney back onto the stage to meet the dean, Lily thought about the strange twist of fate that had brought her here. 1 month ago, she had been an assistant principal with a dusty piano and buried dreams. Now she stood on the threshold of a new chapter, one where music would no longer be relegated to the background of her life. She had been asked to play for fun, but her performance had stolen the show and, in the process, reclaimed a part of herself she had thought was lost forever. 1 year later, Lily sat in her new office at State University, looking out at the tree-lined campus quad. September sunshine filtered through the window, warming the space and highlighting the framed poster on her wall, an elegant announcement of her first faculty recital from 6 months ago. So much had changed since that summer night in the park. After her performance, Dean Wilson had approached her with an unexpected offer, a position teaching piano at the university while she pursued a master's degree in music performance. The position came with a small scholarship and a reduced teaching load, making it possible for her to work while studying. The decision hadn't been easy. Leaving her stable job at Pine Grove Elementary meant stepping into uncertainty, trading security for passion. But after weeks of consideration, countless pro and con lists, and long talks with Tara and Mrs. Garcia, Lily had taken the leap. "I'm not getting any younger," she had told the principal when she submitted her resignation. "If I don't try now, I might never know what could have been." Now, arranging sheet music for her afternoon studio class, Lily reflected on the whirlwind year behind her. Going back to school in her 30s hadn't been simple. She'd felt out of place among younger students, struggled with theory classes, and questioned her decision during late nights of practice and study. But she'd also found a home in the music department, connecting with fellow musicians who understood her passion in a way her former colleagues never could. Her experiences in education had made her a better teacher, able to communicate with students in ways that the more traditionally trained professors sometimes couldn't. A knock on her door interrupted her thoughts. It was Dean Wilson, his round face breaking into a smile when she looked up. "Lily, glad I caught you. Do you have a moment?" "Of course," she gestured to the chair across from her desk. "What can I do for you?" The dean settled himself comfortably. "I wanted to discuss something with you before the faculty meeting this afternoon." He leaned forward, eyes bright with excitement. "We've received an interesting proposal from Pine Grove Elementary. They're looking to establish a music outreach program, piano lessons for underprivileged students funded by a grant from the Delaney Foundation." Lily's eyebrows rose. "Pine Grove? That's unexpected." "Not really," Dean Wilson said with a knowing smile. "Your former principal specifically requested your involvement. Apparently you've become something of a local legend, the assistant principal who became a concert pianist." "Hardly a concert pianist," Lily protested, though she couldn't help smiling at the thought of her old workplace. "Tell that to the audience at your spring recital," the dean countered. "Standing room only, if I recall correctly." It was true. Her first major solo recital as a graduate student had drawn an unexpectedly large crowd. Former colleagues, parents of students she'd worked with, and what seemed like half the town had turned out to support her. The local paper had run a feature about her unusual career change, dubbing her Pine Grove's piano prodigy. What would this program involve? Lily asked, intrigued by the idea of connecting her two worlds. "That's partly up to you," the dean replied. "The basic concept is weekly piano lessons for selected students with a year-end recital. You would oversee the program and teach some of the students, while our advanced undergrads would handle the rest as part of their teaching practicum." He paused. "It would mean adding a few hours to your schedule, but we'd adjust your other responsibilities accordingly." Lily thought about the children at Pine Grove, especially those whose families couldn't afford private music lessons. How many of them might have untapped talent just waiting for an opportunity? "I'd like to be involved," she said decisively. "When would it start?" "Next month, ideally." The dean stood, clearly pleased with her response. "Excellent. I'll let them know you're on board. Oh, and one more thing." He turned at the door. "Mr. Delaney specifically asked if you'd consider performing at the program's launch event. Nothing elaborate, just a piece or two to inspire the children." After the dean left, Lily sat back in her chair, pondering this new development. Returning to Pine Grove in such a different capacity would be strange but fitting, a full-circle moment in her journey. Her phone buzzed with a text from Tara. "Lunch today? I have big news." They met at their favorite cafe near campus, where Tara was already waiting, practically bouncing with excitement. Though they saw each other less frequently now, their friendship had remained solid through Lily's transition. "You're glowing," Lily observed as she sat down. "What's the big news?" "I got the music teacher position," Tara exclaimed. "Mrs. Garcia is retiring at the end of this semester, and they offered me the job." "That's wonderful." Lily reached across the table to squeeze her friend's hand. "You'll be amazing." "It's all thanks to you, you know," Tara said, her expression turning serious. "Watching you take that risk, change your whole life to follow your passion. It inspired me to finally apply for my dream job." Lily shook her head, embarrassed by the praise. "You did the work. You went back for your music education certificate while teaching full-time. That takes serious dedication." "Speaking of dedication," Tara leaned forward conspiratorially, "have you heard about the new program Pine Grove is starting? Piano lessons for kids who can't afford them?" "Dean Wilson just told me about it this morning," Lily said, surprised. "How did you know?" "I'm going to be the school's liaison for it," Tara explained. "That's partly why they hired me. I already have a connection to the university through you." Lily laughed. "So we'll be working together again." "Just like old times," Tara agreed. "Except now you're the hotshot pianist and I'm just the humble music teacher." "Stop it," Lily protested. "I'm still a student myself." "A student who performed with the University Symphony last month," Tara pointed out. "Don't downplay your accomplishments, Lily. You've come so far in just 1 year." It was true, though Lily still found it hard to fully acknowledge. Beyond her studies and teaching, she had performed in several university concerts, given a solo recital, and even played at a few private events arranged by Mr. Delaney. Each performance built her confidence, healed old wounds, and connected her more deeply to the musical community she had once abandoned. "Did I tell you Dr. Rivera has me working on a concerto?" Lily said, changing the subject slightly. "He thinks I might be ready for the concerto competition next spring. That's huge." Tara's eyes widened. "Which concerto?" Rachmaninoff's second, Lily admitted sheepishly. "I know it's ambitious. It's perfect," Tara declared. "And totally you. All that passion and drama." After lunch, Lily walked back to the music building for her afternoon teaching. She had 3 students today, an enthusiastic freshman with more energy than precision, a talented junior who lacked confidence, and a non-music major who played for pure joy. Each brought different challenges and rewards. Teaching had become one of the unexpected pleasures of her new life. Sharing her knowledge, guiding students through difficult passages, watching them grow as musicians, it fulfilled her in ways she hadn't anticipated. As she approached the practice rooms, she heard someone playing, a halting, tentative rendition of the same Rachmaninoff prelude that had changed her life. She paused outside the door, listening as the student struggled with a difficult passage, tried again, improved slightly. Lily smiled, remembering her own journey with that piece. The dusty piano in her living room, the surprise performance at the charity event, the summer concert that had launched her new beginning. That evening, after her last student left, Lily remained in the practice room working on the Rachmaninoff concerto. The piece was monumentally difficult, far more challenging than anything she'd tackled before. There were moments when she wondered if Dr. Rivera had too much faith in her abilities, if she was reaching beyond her grasp. But then she'd remember how far she'd already come, how much she'd already overcome. The rejection letter that had once seemed like the end of her musical journey now felt like merely a detour, a necessary path that had eventually led her back to where she belonged. Her phone buzzed with a notification. It was an email from Mr. Delaney, confirming details for the Pine Grove program launch. At the bottom was a personal note. "I've never been more certain of an investment than the one I made in you. You've proven that it's never too late to reclaim a dream." Lily set the phone aside and returned to the piano, losing herself in the music as the evening shadows lengthened across the room. Each challenging passage she mastered felt like another step in a journey that had no final destination, only growth, learning, and the joy of creation. The following month, Lily stood once again in the familiar halls of Pine Grove Elementary, this time as a visitor rather than staff. Children peeked curiously at her as she made her way to the gym, where a small stage had been set up for the program launch. The space was filled with excited students, parents, teachers, and community members. A baby grand piano, donated by the Delaney Foundation, gleamed under the lights. On the wall hung a banner, "Pine Grove Piano Program Unlocking Musical Potential." In the front row sat 10 children, ages 8 to 12, eyes wide with anticipation. They were the first students selected for the program, chosen not by ability but by interest and need. Some fidgeted nervously. Others sat perfectly still, as if afraid any movement might cost them this opportunity. The principal welcomed everyone and explained the program, then introduced Lily as our very own musical success story. As Lily walked to the piano, she caught Tara's eye in the crowd. Her friend gave her an encouraging wink. "Before I play," Lily said, addressing the audience but focusing on the children in the front row, "I want to tell you something important. Just over a year ago, I hadn't touched a piano seriously in 8 years. I thought that part of my life was over." She looked at the children's curious faces. "But music wasn't finished with me. Sometimes our paths take unexpected turns. Sometimes we get second chances. And sometimes the things we love find their way back to us when we least expect it." She turned to the piano and began to play. Not Rachmaninoff this time, but a piece she had composed herself, inspired by her journey. It was simpler than the classical works in her repertoire, but no less heartfelt, weaving themes of loss, rediscovery, and joy into a musical narrative that filled the gymnasium. When she finished, the applause was warm and genuine. But more meaningful to Lily were the expressions on the children's faces, the wonder, The excitement, the dawning possibility that they, too, might create something beautiful. After the ceremony, as people mingled and enjoyed refreshments, one of the program students approached her shyly. She was a small girl with serious eyes and worn but carefully maintained clothes. "Ms. Chen," the girl said quietly, "I've never had a real music lesson before. Do you think I might be good at piano?" Lily knelt down to meet the child at eye level. "I think that's something wonderful we get to discover together. But I can tell you this, everyone has music inside them. Some just haven't had the chance to let it out yet." The girl smiled, a flash of hope lighting her face before she ran back to her parents. Standing in that school gymnasium, surrounded by her past and future, Lily felt a profound sense of rightness. One invitation to play for fun had led her here, to a life reimagined, a passion reclaimed, and now, the chance to open doors for others. As she watched the excited children gathering around the new piano, tentatively pressing keys and giggling at the sounds, Lily knew that her most important performance wasn't the charity event, or the summer concert, or even her recitals at the university. It was this one, the ongoing act of living authentically, following her heart, and passing on the gift of music to the next generation. Not every performance needed applause to change lives. Sometimes the most profound transformations happened in the quiet moments, in practice rooms and classrooms, in the space between teacher and student, where passion was kindled and dreams took flight.